of chanting there, and the bells that they ring are called Sanctus bells. Now we're at the museum, which parts of it are quite dark, and I didn't really have a great deal of luck recording in here last time. Right. Of course, obviously we're in the museum now. I was trying to get a complete recording, like where we could hear the monks chanting. We didn't get all of it because two women decided to yammer yammer yammer. I was almost like, alright, already, I'm trying to listen to the monks chanting, stop. But I'm in a good mood today, so we let them off. I'm magnanimous like that, you see. And today's brothers are the men you just heard chanting. As I say on all my videos, if there's anything you want to read, just pause, read it and carry on. Nurses at the Charterhouse. It's got an infirmary, that's what I was on about, like a home kind of thing for old people. But all priories, nunneries, monasteries, they all had their infirmary. If you watch Cadfile, you'll see exactly what I mean. Before Henry VIII, really the massive majority of charity and medical care was dispensed by the church. And nobles who donated to the church and to charity and such and whatnot, a lot of people with money would leave money to the poor in their will, like for food and things like that. Right, Windsor Chair, 1890. That looks like a comfortable chair, actually, I must say. These things are like your interactive stuff. Kids like all this, but there's some interesting information. Righty-ho. It's not always easy to get things, you see, because of the reflections on glass, but this phone has performed itself very, very well indeed. Ghosts. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a man that died of the plague. We'll be going to see a proper bit of him in a minute, but watch this space. Now you shall see a desk. Here we are, this is what I wanted to show you. This is, if the boys were unruly or naughty, the birch rod. See? And they had a lot of shaming punishments as well, like dunce caps and things like that. And yeah. Monitor's desk from the new school in 1810. The monitor would have been the man with the cane. Alright, already, just pause and read. I'm not telling you again. Are you my sugar now? Well, this phone will not be being hit with a birch rod because it's behaved itself very, very well. I was hardly able to catch any of this last time, particularly things like this. I always struggled with dark wood. And don't forget, the first time I came here, I didn't have the iPhone. It was just my old smartphone. And then, like, my mum really kindly, she's known as 50,000 phones Mal, who's got like hundreds of mobile phones everywhere. She kindly let me have an iPhone that she had knocking about, and that improved my quality a lot, I must admit. Oh look, boys' names, look, carved into the desk. C. Boy, 1861. IW. IBV. Goodard. AC/DC. This is before the age of batteries and electric, quite clearly, with the AC/DC. Last time I was here, I said it about 12 or 15 times afterwards and really got on my nerves. Well, I've got an old book indoors that was looks like this. I'll show it to you. And in the end, I got on my nerves so much that I did show it to people. And that was done as an anniversary kind of thing for Queen Elizabeth I. 100 or so odd years after her death. It was published at the book I've got. It was published at St Paul's Churchyard, Paternoster Row, and was basically a book of sermons from the time of Queen Elizabeth. Someone had obviously found the old printing blocks and things from that Queen Elizabeth's time, and they just ran a rerun of it in the 1700s. The exterior and chapel I'll get Rob to blend together. The museum I'll put on in a separate part. My dad would like that, he loves old maps. Iron property mark from the 19th century. These also as well, in the old days, before the fire brigade, what we've got now, you could get insurance, fire insurance, and you'd be given a metal plaque to put on your house. And if you didn't have one of those plaques, and say the men from that fire service were going by, and you didn't have a plaque, they would just sit and watch your house burn because you didn't have a plaque. It's harsh, but it's what they did. Tally sticks. They were a medieval, and they lasted well into the 19th century as well. Apparently, they were a good thing of keeping account. They'd be a stick, they'd cut the notches into it, then they'd split it down the middle. The recipient would be given one, and then the person doing the dealings would keep one. When they came back, they'd join the two halves together, and then that was a proof of the way it was, and you couldn't add notches or take them away because the halves wouldn't match. But yeah, anyway, the Palace of Westminster, which was the old Houses of Parliament, that burned down in the 1830s, supposedly because they were burning tally sticks, and there were so many thousands or hundreds of them that they had, that the fire got out of control. Hence why we have the Houses of Parliament that we've got today. A little bit of London Luke history for you. Protestants. A Matthew Bible from 1549. Who is this good gentleman? This is Benjamin Langley, Bishop of Ely. Thomas Sutton is the man, the great big tomb we saw in the church, who founded the charity. Plaster cast of Thomas Sutton's coffin. In those days, the coffin, like we think of them as being wooden box things, nobility and rich people, they were sealed in lead. If you go on YouTube, but we've got BT Vision, if you go on BT Vision and type in medieval dead, look for the one called The Man in the Lead. It might be on YouTube as well. And that was a medieval knight that died in the Crusades abroad, was sealed in lead, his body brought home, and it had been so well preserved that when he was exhumed, or dug up as they say, the body hadn't rotted away, and the coroner, and they did an autopsy, not like an autopsy, like, well, yeah, it was an autopsy. They did an autopsy on him and was amazed by what they saw. These are known as Spanish chests. The lock system on these, as you can see, and I didn't catch any of this last time, the lock system on these is absolutely amazing, very complex, and often, see the keyhole is there, that'll be a data fake. So you're putting a key in and trying to pick it. The keyhole isn't normally on the top, hidden be underneath something that you move or press a button. Yeah, they were really clever. Treasure chests that literally treasure would have been stored in. Coins, Luke's favourite, one of Luke's favourites. Coal, money lending, canon, property and administration. Got this on the top. Oh, that'll make a nice screenshot, won't it? that nun that used to go around doing things like this. They didn't have screenshots in her day, so. But, yeah. Secrets. Just pause and read. Pause and read. As they say. Gorgeous. There we are. Window pane with the arms of the Duke of Norfolk. All the Norfolks. The conspirators. Catherine Howard. She was got into Henry VIII's bed by the Norfolks, and we know how that ended for her. And a few of the Norfolks lost their lives as well over that one. The old Duke of Norfolk, he was known as the Old Survivor. He was in the Tower, awaiting death, as Henry VIII lay dying. And the custom in those days, when the king died, his prisoners would be pardoned. And the old Duke of Norfolk, who'd caused the death really of Catherine Howard by putting her on in Henry VIII's bed as queen. She was a kid when she married Henry VIII, literally. And yeah, he survived, and well, I say unfortunately he survived, but the saying was at the time, when he died, they said about him that the only mourners at his funeral should be the ghosts of his children. Duke of Norfolk, of course, had played a great role in this place. Thomas Sutton was quite clearly a wealthy man. And this is what I like as well, the old original floor. That would have been a tomb monument thing, there would have been a brass in that. And the title of my page is Living History. Now, I'm walking literally on history, and I love that. It's fantastic. I couldn't get this at all last time. It just wouldn't come out. It was too, with the smartphone, it was too dark, and the quality of my smartphone, I've gone from, with the smartphone, I went from a 9 megapixel with this one to a 64 megapixel. So yeah, big difference, and as you can see, the quality speaks for itself. The clothes in those days, obviously, they were magnificent, but my goodness, they must have been uncomfortable. King James I stayed here. King James I notoriously did not wash his body. He used to wash his fingertips in a bowl, and he smelt. And he had male lovers. Believed in witches. Burned a lot of witches and had a lot of witches hanged. Did James I. He was a very superstitious man. And he was our gunpowder plot king. Remember the 5th of November for gunpowder, treason and plot. There's no earthly reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. And that's the words of King James I. Oh, that's pretty, isn't it? This is what I was talking about outside, and I don't know if in my video whether it came out clear enough, but yeah, this is the martyrdom of the Carthusian monks. The monks here refused to bend to Henry's will, and oh, okay. I'm not messing about. I swear I just saw, and it wasn't my I think, yep, that was it. That's all right. Yeah, my leg. Oh, that made me jump. There's a skeleton in that room as well, so it's. And I, like King James I, am superstitious. Although I must say for myself, though, I don't hang people and burn them to death. So I do have some redeeming features, I suppose. Plan of the monastery's water system in the early 17th century. Oh, this is quite interesting. And I think it must be the lighting in here, because with whatever phone I use, you get this weird flickery thing. But it only happens in this bit when I walk here, above these tombs, so I don't know whether it's electrical or spiritual. Or both, maybe. If there are any spirit people in places like this, they make themselves heard. I've heard whispers and things and whatnot in a few of my videos in old places. Just pause and read, pause and read. Just smile and wave, smile and wave. That's what you say when crazy people come up to your car window, banging on the window wanting some money. You say to the kids, just smile and wave, just smile and wave. And then drive away as soon as you green light it. I'll give you the history bit of it, then I'll show you the map itself. It's got quite a lot of detail on it, just had a little glance at it. I tried to keep them under half an hour if I can, but in a place this amazing, I mean, anyone who's a subscriber on my YouTube or a member of the page knows what you're getting with me, so I hope you find it interesting. And this is that map. And this is from the early 1600s. That's on vellum. Animal skin instead of like paper as we know it. That's why it lasts so long. The Family History Centre, where I used to go at Middleton Street, which isn't very far from here either. It's moved, it went, and I was gutted when that went, because I loved that place. Some of the earlier registers, birth, marriage and death registers from 1837 to about 1850, the pages in those were vellum, and considering people literally thumb through them every day, thousands of people, they lasted so well. But that all moved up to Southampton, and most of it's online now anyway. Right. Oh, that's good. You get that without the reflection. And this was the bit I liked. Was the detail. There's Charterhouse there. That. Do you know, every time I turn my head, and it isn't my shadow this time, I realise I keep seeing something in here, out of the corner of my eye, or someone rather, I should say. Well, sometimes the imagination can play tricks, and as I say, I'm very superstitious, but if it is anyone ghostly, I hope they know I don't mean them any harm. Anyone that's watched my videos to see how respectful I am in places like this. So the one good thing with filming really is that I can point you at the description, you can pause, read. My documentary that I'm filming will be a bit more in depth, than that. And whereas I sometimes use voiceovers from other material and things like that, this will all be all done by me. I've sourced the history on it, the photos or the images, no photos in those days, but images, and they're original images, like images of the kings, some from illuminated documents. So if you're interested in watching the first London Luke documentary, watch this space, as they say. That would be a man and his wife, and they would have been relatively important of some degrees. I've got a coat of arms. This one, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, because if you look at Tudor memorials, men wore long gowns with linens, with breeches and linen hose that were like stockings, and women also wore gowns as well. So, and it wasn't until a bit later on that they started really pulling their waists in with corsets. Illuminated documents. What could be this? The Book of Monks. What be that? It's fun for some of it. Medieval art was very rudimentary, to say the least, but I absolutely love these things. And anyone that's watched my page may remember, if you watched that one, that I do recreate these. Illuminated documents. Ooh, I like that one. New source material for London Luke for my hobby. That's a wintertime hobby, the illumination. I've not done any for a couple of years though. King Death. The skeleton. Death is sometimes shown as a skeleton in those days, wearing a crown, because he was King Death, who triumphed over all, even kings. That's nice, I like that one. That'll be a screenshot and recreation. I shall put it back to the beginning and people can read it then. Righty-hoo. The dead. Also, it should be said that there is a medieval plague burial ground, or was a medieval plague burial ground at Charterhouse. Not from the 1665 plague, which was known as the Great Plague. This was from the 1300s, which was the Black Death. Oh look, this is the opening of Walter Manny's coffin in 1947. Oh, that's what I said to you about it being sealed in lead. Gory lot, weren't they? Must be interesting though. I say gory, but that would interest me. Foundation. Fragments of Sir Walter Manny's tomb from 1371. Obviously when the place was pulled down, the tomb would have been destroyed as well. Such a shame. But if you're getting a look at Sir Walter Manny's tomb, if you look at my videos of St Bartholomew's the Great, Southwark Cathedral, you'll get an idea of what his tomb would have looked like by that. And here we are. It killed literally half the population, the Black Death. And that's also another bit of history for you, is what ended feudal England with the serfs. There were so few serfs left that a lot of them just upped and left their lords and went somewhere else and said, well, if you want our labour, you must pay for it. At first they said no. Their crops and things died in the fields, their places weren't run, and in the end the nobility itself had to give in. And that's what ended serfdom, was the Black Death. 50,000 persons buried. Whew. That's the way out. Give you a quick sweep at the place. The map, I like this map. It's missing a tooth at the front. This is before the age of sugar, so their teeth were a bit better than ours, believe it or not, in some cases. In Tudor times, Queen Elizabeth I, who notoriously had rotten black teeth, all continuously chewed on sweets on the mistaken belief that it would sweeten her breath, but unfortunately it just rotted her teeth away. And the little hole we looked through that said ghosts is this. And when I was a kid, or younger, I would have waited till someone was on the other side of that, opened it and put my hand out and like, grow. But I don't do things like that now, particularly in places of worship. Right, ladies and gents. And we're back where we started. Concludes our tour. Take care all, and I hope you all found that interesting. See you all soon.